Hey guys, this is Austin, and today I'm here with a tutorial showing you how to back up your SHSH blobs as well as downgrade your firmware on an iPhone, iPod Touch, or iPad. Now the way we're going to be doing it today is using iFaith. Now iFaith is a little different from something such as Tiny Umbrella, and what it allows you to do is pull the SHSH blobs from your device rather than relying on Apple to still be signing them. If you guys are not familiar with what SHSH blobs are, I'll be brief. Basically what an SHSH blob is a key that Apple gives you, and it is unique to every device and every firmware. So let's take, for example, I have an iPod Touch here, and it was on 4.3.3. And if I want to get back to that 4.3.3 firmware, I'm going to need the SHSH blob. And the only way to get that ordinarily is to have captured it using some program while Apple was still signing that. But as soon as the new firmware comes out, Apple stops signing it, and you have no way of getting back to that old firmware. However, with iFaith, it works a little differently. Instead of relying on Apple, it actually pulls the SHSH blob off of your device. So, for example, I have an iPod Touch on 5.0.1 here. However, if it was on 5.0, for example, we could pull it right off there and not have to worry about Apple not allowing us to downgrade to whatever firmware we like. So once you download the program, it is Windows only, but once you download it, there's going to be a few options here. But very simple, ignore everything else except dump SHSH blobs. Now once you get to this, it will give you a little information. Now this is compatible with most but not all devices. So basically this is going to be compatible with all iPhones, iPod Touches, and iPads with the exception of the new iPhone 4S as well as the iPad 2. If you have the iPhone 4S or the iPad 2, you're a little out of luck, but if you have pretty much any other device, this should work. So you need to go ahead and click proceed and go through the credits and thanks. It will ask if you were dumping an Apple TV 2, which we are not. And so we're ready to begin. So at this point, you need to go ahead and plug your iPhone, iPod Touch, or iPad in. And I do want to take this opportunity to mention that you do not need to be jailbroken, and this will not jailbreak or anything. It will basically just get a little information off your device. And by information, I mean the SHSH blobs, not like anything personal or anything like that. Alright, so all you need to do is shut off your device and be sure it is plugged in, and turn off iTunes or anything like that if it was open. So hold the power button for just a second until you get the slide to power off. This will take just a moment, and I do want to mention that if you are using a tethered jailbreak, you will need to boot as tethered after this, but not a huge deal, shouldn't take just a moment. So once your device is shut off, we can go ahead and begin, and what we're going to do is enter DFU mode. So if you've ever jailbroken before, it's going to be really simple, very obvious, but I'll go ahead and walk you guys through it if you've never done it before. Alright, so we're all done here. We're ready to click start. So as soon as you hit start, it'll give you a little countdown. We're going to need to hold the power and the home button for 5 seconds. So ready, set, go. Just going to hold them both together for 10 seconds. And of course it has a nice countdown timer. But again, if you've ever done DFU mode, you can probably do it in your sleep. But alright, and we're going to release the power button and just continue holding the home button. And it's as simple as that. It always says 30 seconds, but in my expertise, it usually is more like 10, 15 seconds, something like that. But we'll just continue waiting here until it gives us the go ahead. At this point, you can set your device down and just give iFaith a few minutes to go ahead and go through all of the different SHSH blobs and dump them. So as soon as it's done with this, I'll be right back. Alright, so once it's all done, it will ask you to save the SHSH cache. So just save it in a safe place, preferably somewhere that you won't lose it. It'll take just a moment and then it will save it. On top of that, it will also save it to a server, so if for some reason you're not able to actually get the physical file on your computer, you can always re-download it. So there we go. It's as simple as that. We can click OK, and it will bring us back to the main page. Now, for most of you guys, you're going to be done. You've backed up your SHSH blob, whatever firmware you were on. But to make sure, I recommend go ahead and click available, show available SHSH caches. So just allow it to give it a second, with your device, of course, still plugged in, and it will pull up all the SHSH caches you have. So for example, you can see I have 4.3.3 as well as 5.0.1, which I just did. Anyway guys, that's about it. If you ever want to downgrade to that firmware, all you need to do is click build signed IPSW with blobs, and then just simply restore it in iTunes, and you will be back to whatever firmware that you had the SHSH blob for. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, definitely be sure to leave it a thumbs up, and if you're interested in more videos like this, be sure to subscribe.